Well, the reason why I'm doing this video is because everybody seems to complain about the iPhone. But about how weak the battery is. Honestly. Think about it like this. If the iPhone's battery is the main issue here for Apple, the battery's not the problem. The people that are suing Apple for, what was it, $99 billion are the problem who are suing Apple. Honestly, Apple's battery is fine if you know how to adjust the settings on certain things that you don't even use. These are the things that I don't use on my iPhone. I don't use Wi-Fi because I know that drains out the battery. The only time I turn on my Wi-Fi is when I actually do prompts on my PS4 for streams like this. But unfortunately for Sony, the app is not working right now, because as soon as they updated the Sony firmware, the app isn't working properly with YouTube or anything like that. I can't type in it, I can't do nothing. And whoever complains about the iPhone, think about how long people have had the iPhone. First off. Secondly, I dim the brightness to the lowest setting possible to prolong my battery life. If I'm not using my phone constantly, you know how long my phone actually lasts? 96 hours. And you know how much it loses battery life when it actually gets updated by Apple? 17%. And everybody who complains about the firmware update for Apple for battery usage, they shouldn't have updated it with this one, the current one, because now that they updated the iPhone because of the 30% of people that have a problem with their battery, now my phone is being messed up again. But it's not Apple's fault. I blame the consumer base who says to their iPhone that their battery is losing too much power. I blame those people. Honestly, I turn off everything on my iPhone if I'm not using it, especially my Wi-Fi, because I have the good thing about having unlimited data on your phone. You could turn off your Wi-Fi, and that saves about roughly a good 10%, I would say about roughly 3% of battery life if you're not using Wi-Fi. But as soon as I use the PlayStation app with my Wi-Fi, you know how much battery life I actually lose on my iPhone? I lose about 3% every, I would say roughly 30 minutes. Or if I'm using video for Wi-Fi, when I'm watching YouTube videos on Wi-Fi, I roughly lose about another 3% of my battery. But that's because I've had my phone for a year and a half, and my phone, I know how much I use my phone. People don't realize, the average person doesn't realize how many hours they actually spend on their phone, and they're complaining about Apple and how weak the battery life is. Think about it like this. If you have to charge it every day, that means you're using your phone all the time. I mean, that's kind of logical, don't you think? People don't realize that you got nothing but blame for yourself. You got nothing but problems with your iPhone because of you. I mean, because of that person that's using their iPhone. I mean, I have no problems with using my iPhone, and I wouldn't blame Apple for the battery loss in their iPhone because people use their iPhone all the time. Roughly, I have to charge my phone if I'm not using it constantly. I have to charge it every 44 hours or 50 hours, roughly, give or take. But if I'm using it constantly, I have to charge it maybe 32 to 15 hours, depending on how much I use it for and what apps I'm using my iPhone with, because you have to factor in all those probabilities to calculate your iPhone battery usage, because every time there's an update, you lose about 17% of your battery life on your iPhone. And I checked. And every time you download an app, it drains the battery out too. I mean, I have what? I have Instagram. I have the two Sony apps. And those two apps, those Sony applications, drain the most out of my phone. Because I use their voice recognition to type for my YouTube videos. Because it will take me forever to type something if I did it manually. So that saves me a lot of time in doing these videos. But for some reason, after they updated their last firmware update for Sony's last firmware update for the PS4, I can't access the vocal or the prompts for their typing part in their app. For some reason, it's not working right now. But for me, the iPhone works fine. Because think about it like this. If you lower the brightness from your iPhone to the lowest setting, you actually save a lot of power. But normal people, or the average person who use an iPhone, I can't stand how they use their iPhone. Look at how bright the average person turns on their iPhone? Probably. I'm gonna show it to you. If you could, and I can't look at the brightness if it's on this high. So, they do it like this. That's the average person's brightness level, or by half. And you know how much battery loss that is to the iPhone? About 5%. I didn't actually calculate it, but I estimate it to be 5% of battery loss to the iPhone. And you know how bright this is? And I'm like, I have to turn it down because it's so bright. And that's why my battery lasts maybe 32 hours to 44 hours, or even 56 hours, depending on how much I actually use my iPhone. And I've had my iPhone for a year and a half, and it works fine. And I wouldn't blame Apple's problems on the battery. I would blame the average consumer, or the consumers of their own iPhones' problems, because you know how many times they've updated the iPhone due to battery problems? Twice. I gotta turn my iPhone down. That's way too bright. Oh. And honestly, iPhone, the first time I updated this phone to the iPhone 6, which this one is, my first iPhone was the iPhone 4. My very first iPhone was the iPhone 4. And I had that for at least roughly 6 years before I had to get a new phone because of the battery. 6 years for the iPhone 4 before I replaced that with this. And typically the average consumer actually uses their iPhone for 2 years. It's because the average consumer only uses their iPhone for 2 years. It's because they overuse their iPhone. Actually, that's why they need a replacement for the iPhone, for their latest model, because they're overusing the battery, and that's why they need to replace it. I mean, but it's not Apple's fault for your overusage of your own phone. I mean, I overuse my phone all the time, but I know what's causing it, because every time there's an update, because of the average consumer or the consumers of Apple products, they blame it on the battery. I mean, and they need to update the phone. Nothing was wrong with the last one. The very last update, the one before this one, my battery was lasting 96 hours. But now, because the latest update caused this problem, because the average consumer is going, my battery's dying too fast. Think about how long you're using your phone for. And think about how long you have it on Wi-Fi. Honestly, when I got this phone, I told the Apple Store I do not want to leave without unlimited data plan. Because I know the Wi-Fi causes the iPhone to lose a lot more power. And I refuse to leave the Apple Store without my unlimited data plan. I refuse to. Because I know that saves a lot of power for me. And honestly, when I'm looking at the Apple users that are suing Apple, honestly, I'm ashamed of you guys who are having problems with your iPhone and blaming Apple for it. Blame yourselves for that, please. Because every time there's an update, you make your iPhones worse. I'm never blaming my iPhone for its problems. I'm blaming the people that are blaming Apple for their current iPhone issues. I mean, let's see, what do I have off right now on my phone that I don't use? Let's see, I have the Wi-Fi on right now because I was trying to use the Sony app, but that's not working right now. So I have to eventually turn that off. Let's see, what do I not use on my phone? Let's see, where is it? I don't use the gaming corner thing, so I turn off that app on that, so that saves a little bit more juice towards my phone. Let's see. Hold on, where is the rest of this? I have no Bluetooth, so I turn that off. I turn off the airplane mode because I'm not in a plane right now. And even if I was on a plane, I would probably turn my phone off for that function anyway. Let's see. Hold on, what else is there? I deleted the health and fitness app, so I turned that function off. Let's see, where? Yup. If I want to actually use it again, I'll need to download it again. And I deleted the actual home app on my phone because I know that app causes more power to be used on the iPhone. I mean, I basically delete apps that I will not use on my phone because it drains more power on the phone. So, for me, I speculate the next time I get an upgrade for my phone, my iPhone 6, the next time I upgrade it will be probably 4 to 5 years from now, or 4.5 at least, before I get another iPhone. Because my iPhone 4 lasted me 6 years before I updated to this phone. And honestly, my iPhone 6 works fine. If you think about how much the average person uses their iPhone and what apps they actually have on, you would be saving a lot more power if you turn them off. But people who are blaming Apple for their battery problems should be ashamed of themselves, because it's not Apple's fault for overusage of your own phone. I mean, I calculated yesterday, just for a test drive, how much I actually use my phone. I did that on purpose, just to see what's causing my battery drainage, and I know what's causing it because I have a lot of apps that I look over every 3 hours. My PlayStation app, every time I do a video, I drain about 3%, and plus it's on Wi-Fi, so it drains the battery out that way. And I have friends that are on Instagram, so I look at that sometimes, and that drains out the battery too. But for me, I think roughly when I got my iPhone 6, to clarify, one of the tech guys at the Genius Bar told me it will last, if you're on the internet, 6 hours, roughly 6 to 4 hours or something like that. But every time there's an update, the average consumer for their iPhones will cause their own batteries to make it worse. I mean, think about how long you've had your iPhone in general. Think about that first. Roughly, batteries on phones in general only last 2 years because of the overusage of everything. That's why the phone dies a lot quicker. If you turn some of their apps off on a typical phone, if you can, you'll be saving yourself a lot more headaches for yourselves, rather than blaming the phone company who made the phone for you. I mean, I've had this phone for 1.5 years, and I love my iPhone 6. I have no problems with my iPhone. I know what's causing their problems for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 7 and the iPhone in general. I know what's causing their problems because the average person, or people in general, including myself, don't know, except for me, how much they actually utilize their phone for everything. I purposely checked yesterday how much I would use my phone on a regular basis until now. I roughly started from 10 o'clock to 10 this morning messing around with my phone on purpose, just so I could see how long the battery will have of life. But ever since the current update happened, I can't see the standby phase or the usage phase in my iPhone, because for some reason, every time there's an update, the iPhone gets worse because the average consumer says there's something wrong with my battery, and it causes glitches in my iPhone. But I deal with that problem. Nothing much. And, whoops, hold on. And I'll retitle this thing later. But as of right now, I can't, because something's wrong with my app. So I have to literally go into YouTube and change the title for my current video, because the PlayStation app is having a problem. So I have to change it the old-fashioned way through YouTube. But I'm probably done talking about the iPhone as of right now, but if I think about everything else, if I think about something else for the iPhone, I'll do another video like this. But usually when I feel sorry for the Apple Store, or Apple in general as a company, because the Apple brand is a very strong brand. But everybody who's complaining about the iPhone's battery usage problems, you gotta think, how much am I actually using the phone for, and how many apps do I actually have downloaded onto it, and how bright do I have the screen on the iPhone, and do I use Wi-Fi on my phone? And honestly, again, I'll state this. Roughly, I use my phone for 32 hours or up to 72 hours at maximum, if I'm not in usage of it. But people don't realize, who have an iPhone, how much do they use their iPhone. And they're blaming Apple for their battery usage problems for the iPhone. And which I'm not blaming Apple for that problem. I'm not blaming Apple for nothing, actually. Because I'm a big Apple user as of now, because without the iPhone, texting wouldn't come fast to me. Now, because it's all done with voice recognition, it's a lot easier to use. But I'll state the app that I miss the most using is the Dragon Dictation app, because that app actually was better used for texting than the current program that is on the iPhone with the microphone. That's the only app that I will actually say I miss using all the time, because the Dragon Dictation app is actually more responsive to people's vocal patterns, and it's actually more understanding of the average person's vocal patterns than the microphone on the current texting function on the iPhone. I mean, I've looked at it, and every time I say something like summon, it says salmon like the fish. I mean, if anything needs to be fixed on the iPhone, it's that microphone. If anything needs to be fixed on the iPhone. Because every time I say Summon Night 6 or something like that when I'm YouTubing or something like I'm doing right now, it says, you know what, they turn it into summer on the iPhone. I'm like, what? And I'm like, huh? Summer Night 6? No. I meant Summon Night 6. And that's what I said. I said Summon Night, not Summer Night. I'm like, what? And sometimes when it autocorrects me, I'm like, why doesn't it pick up everything that I say with the microphone? And it's kind of funny because when I'm using my iPhone and when I'm texting people on it, I'm like, why? Why is it doing this to me? And when I didn't mean to say that, it purposely does something that I didn't mean to say. On average. I mean, I think they should actually have, for the vocal recognition app for this phone, or the vocal patterns for this function for the microphone for the iPhone in general, they should actually have somebody go in and actually talk to it to fix that problem. Because every time I say Summon Night, it says Summer Night. Every time I type in my app, every single time, and I have to literally type it manually to fix that problem. That's why I don't usually fix my titles unless I'm in the actual iTunes, the actual YouTube section of the thing, if I need to. Like I am having to do after this video is over. But besides that, there's nothing wrong with the phone. I mean, if you calculate how much the average person has used their iPhone in general, or how long they've had it, the battery will die a lot, and how long you use their apps for. Because every app you download will drain the battery. And every time you use it, it will drain the battery. And every time you have Wi-Fi on, it will drain the battery. A lot quicker than you would assume it would drain the battery for the average person. But I'm fully aware of the iPhone's problems. Huh? No. And Why would I want to burn something? Well, I don't know what else is. Yes. And if you're gonna complain about my room, you could just leave it alone. Well, well, I think I'm done actually talking about my iPhone. Well, well, I'm gonna be going right now, because I'm gonna be playing my game right now, so, because I'm done talking about my subject, what I wanted to talk about, so, I'll do one of these videos again, eventually, depending on if the subject matter is important enough to talk about, because, honestly, for Apple's problems, there are none. The average consumer actually uses their phone a lot more than they need to realize. And how bright they turn on their phone. I mean, that's ridiculous how bright the average person uses their phone, for their brightness level for their phone. And I'm like, wow, that is bright. Even when I'm looking at some of my friends' phones, I'm like, dude, that's too bright. Why did you turn it on so bright? So, if you think about it, if the iPhone is the problem, the iPhone isn't the problem. It's probably the actual person that is using the phone. That is the issue. Because the average person doesn't know how much they use their phone. Well, I will never ever use a Samsung phone ever. I don't think. But I like my iPhone. I think Apple figured out most of the problems that the average consumer has. And honestly, I like the old look of the iPhone. Oh wait, the old look of the, what's it called? The iPod functionality on the iPhone. I liked it when it was a full functioning app as an iPod. Hello? Huh. I'll add you later. Or because right now I'm not playing a game. I'm doing something else. But I'll add you if you wanted me to, so I'll have to end this video as of right now. But it was nice to talk to all of you and enjoy the rest of your day. To all. And happy New Year's Eve and New Year's Day to all of you all across the world and stuff. So I'll check you guys later. So wait.
Text to speech unavailable here. Text to speech unavailable here.